I don't understand that whole tweet. Like, is that something to like promote his podcast and say, listen to what I have to say? But so far I got Rogers back with no explanation in the tweet. And then when he did it, I watched maybe about 10 minutes of it. I wasn't quite sure outside of the basic thinker thing. I mean, I'm thinking about it pretty basically. Like Chael Sonnen says, it's an overcomplicated issue, which is kind of, connected to this way of thinking. And I'm thinking, it's pretty basic. It's not complicated to me. And there's this weird, like I said, this weird Stockholm syndrome in the professional wrestling world to do that. Is Rob friends with Rikishi? Is this a way to protect Rikishi as well? Because we have Mark Henry talking about this as well. I don't know. And I asked the question once again. When I'm looking at Rob or listening to Rob, watching him for 10 minutes, or even the Chael Sonnen video or the Mark Henry, and I'm like, what am I missing? What am I getting wrong here? I watched the same video they did. As a matter of fact, we watched some of the live stream before and after. We watched the thing during the day. I think we have complete context on what happened. So what's missing here? Please let us know. I don't know.
Rob said he wanted to start by saying best wishes to SykoStu Smith. Hopefully he will regain his health and do it quickly. That's a shame. He definitely didn't deserve what happened to him. If you thought that me saying that was somehow hypocritical because my text said that I back Raja, then you are one of the basic thinkers that can't understand how those can both be true in the same universe. I'm not picking a side with that post. If I did, I'm not even saying that it would be Raja, apart from the fact that he's got his back. All I'm saying, it's like when Jim Ross said that Vince McMahon was looking ugly, and then he said, well, that's the pot calling the kettle black. One has nothing to do with the other, right? So I'm not saying that this guy Stu deserved what happened to him by saying that. I got Rogers back. What a wonderful example of two completely disparate examples of things that have no correlation whatsoever to prove a point that you haven't proven. What's that got? How does that prove anything of what you're trying to make your point with? And then you say, well, I got Rogers back, but that doesn't mean I've got Rogers back.
Well, we get to a point in this later on that I want to comment on, because we did talk about how real violence, the one-punch death, one-punch murder, one-punch knockout, is a real thing that people in the wrestling bubble are not very connected to because we're in simulated violence. So, and then Mark Henry has a quote about him not being able to fight that I'll comment on. Oof. I don't know. I want to know why he said he got Rogers back. That's the explanation I don't quite.
Do you think this is just engagement farming and just really?
That's what I mean. Was it a hook to have you watch his show? It's a real question. Rob's not the type of person that I would know to do the rage bait, or the people that want to watch an RVD podcast or follow Rob Van Dam don't need a hook or a bait or a tease or something controversial. That people just, in that vein before this, people just love Rob and love his take on stuff, and they'll subscribe and watch his show. That's why I don't understand why he would tweet something like that to get people to watch, if that's what you're saying.
When I watched everything, and when I say that I have his back, I'm not saying I'm going to stand back to back and fight a crowd of effing million people that are trying to lynch him. What I'm saying is I see the pathway that he took that led to what happened. The one thing that Rob actually did make a good point on before I tapped out of listening was that he described Roger as Bob Hollying SykoStu, which is actually kind of true, because, I mean, you're friends with Rene Dupree, and they had a disagreement, and then Bob waited until the match itself, where Rene obviously thought they were working, and then Bob knew they weren't. And it's not the same level, of course, of violence, but there's some kind of correlation there.
It's just not what we're supposed to do. That's as easy as that. Whether it's Bob Holly or Rene, whether it's mass transit incident or any of this stuff, once you get in that ring and you do something like that, it's got to be protection on both ends. And that's what I was saying about protecting the business on the YouTube exclusive, that if you protect the business, you're not protecting, like kayfabe, there's people on the other side, we can't hear us talking and exposing the business, but it's protecting the roster and everybody who has anything to do with a company or a promotion or the business, protecting them from guys like Raja Jackson that aren't clued in and you're going to hurt or do worse to another human being. And for him to say that, like, I go back to Chael saying this kid wasn't angry. All I saw was anger from before, during, and after. That would be the one word to describe this kid. Like, it just nuclear levels of anger, like uncontrollable anger. So, yeah, but the Bob Holly, it's never right no matter who does it to who. For whatever reason you have, it's never right.
Because I was part of this, sort of unwittingly. So you'll remember this, is when I interviewed Maven, and then he mentioned something about Rob smelling, right? Or whatever it was, and it was a baby powder, talcum powder. And then Rob, for whatever reason, did like nearly 30 minutes on that topic. Like, he couldn't let it go. And it was really weird. And I just sort of thought, that's so out of character from what I, as an outsider, sort of presumed Rob was like as a person. But he just, and then somehow it ended up being like he dreamt of a gay fantasy that involved you somehow or whatever. I don't know what it was.
Well, he'll never use Nair again. That's I couldn't convince him to use Nair. But now I have a body groom, so I don't use it either, Rob.
Good.
You know, Rob's always been, if there's one wrestler or person that I know and have known for years and at this point decades, would say that's a totally zen dude. And that's a totally, if anyone's going to let things roll off his back, it's Rob Van Dam. So like you said, about the thing, I think him and Maven squashed it or actually did a video together about that. So I don't know if they were just kind of working together, brother, the little handshake.
So that was like Inception, because I was on Rob's, who was on Maven's, and then I did one as well. So it was like,
you reacted to the reaction of the reaction.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was funny. Anyway, his own commenters and his own YouTube videos, to a person, are mocking him on it. I mean, these aren't cherry-picked comments. These are the top 6. You know, there's no like, oh, latest or what I want to... quote, this is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Quote, Rob is not even capable of basic thinking. Quote, who would have thought a guy almost getting beat to death in the ring would expose our heroes as morons? Quote, calling a 25-year-old a kid seems really effing dense, which we've actually addressed before as well. Quote, yeah, both of these dudes are clowns. Justifying a guy almost killing another man who was unconscious is wild. Quote, Rob, Stu lost most of his teeth, broken multiple facial bones and was choking on his own blood and teeth, was put in an induced coma. Nobody told Raja to beat Stu until he was dead. They told him to give him a receipt. You know what this means and to what degree a receipt should be. There's no two sides or justifying anything. There is zero justification for what happened. Not a single person in the back said, hey, go kill Stu in the ring. He even said, I've always wanted to beat up a pro wrestler for real. He's aware that he is about to do something he shouldn't. I mean, that's put wonderfully from that person who commented on Rob's video. But like it's like 100% negative. And even on Chael's, it was 100% negative.
The weird part about this is it's the inverse. Because aren't the fans usually accused of being bloodthirsty, desensitized, all these different adjectives for pro wrestling fans that they just want to see you jump off the thing, take the bump, light yourself on fire, go through a table. But they have the most empathetic, my Philly accent, they have the most measured, caring, sympathetic approach to this. They have the most human reaction to this, is from what I see. This gives me faith in wrestling fans once again that they get it. They get it more than some of the guys get it at this point.
Anything else you want to say? Because once again, I watched like the first 8 minutes and I couldn't take any more. You watched more than I did. Anything else point-wise that we need to bring up? Because it was just, once again, it was just, I must be just a basic thinker, but it was just drawling and rambling and didn't make any sense. And once again, I don't appreciate being patronised, being called a basic thinker, because, you know, I actually sat down for hours on end researching this and putting together some, I think, good thoughts, as did you. Like, we've actually given this a lot of thought, and we don't live on another planet.
Well, then again, you could be a basic thinker because it's a pretty basic situation to interpret. All you got to do is watch the chronological order of things, or all you got to do is just watch the actual thing and then watch Raja afterwards. And then when someone goes something about it being fake or something like that, he goes, no, I really beat him up. Right? The person was trying to get him to, oh, it was an accident. But he goes, no, I did it on purpose. So it's pretty basic. This doesn't sound like Rob to me. I know I watched it. I saw him. He was saying the things, but this is out of character for somebody that usually would actually be somebody I would consider to be an anti-bully type person.
Yeah.
That wouldn't stand for it.
He's doubling it down, like Chael is. But Chael's got a dog in the fight. Rob doesn't. I don't understand this. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, it's a crap take. But the thing is, it's not only a crap take, it's 50 minutes of crap takes.
That's why I keep asking you what we are missing. And you just said, we researched this thing. I've watched everything multiple times, including whatever I can get through from the reactions based on these people. But what are we missing? Nothing. It feels like there's some serious gaslighting going on.